Prime Minister Narendra Modi seems to be hitting all the right buttons in what is being seen by some quarters as a charm offensive in Japan. It was a two-pronged move by Modi today, his first full day of meetings in Tokyo, the first indirectly attacking China by targeting its aggressive expansionist posture in the East and South China Sea. Then it was time to attract Japanese investors by promising them smooth passage in India, even setting up a special cell in the Prime Minister's office to deal with Japanese investors.
मैं जापान के उद्योगकार मित्रों से एक और भी बात बताना चाहता हूं। हमने तय किया है कि डायरेक्टली पीएमओ के अंडर में एक जापान प्लस इस भूमिका से एक स्पेशल मैनेजमेंट टीम में क्रिएट करने जा रहा हूं, जो एब्सोल्युटली जापान को फैसिलिटेट करने के लिए डेडिकेटेड होगी और उसके कारण उनकी सुविधा बढ़ेगी।
Meanwhile, China has reacted cautiously. A state-run daily, the Global Times, accusing Japan of playing spoilsport in India-China relations and dividing the two economic giants. The Global Times web edition said that Indo-Japan ties were threatened in view of the rise of BRICS and emerging Sino-Indian cooperation. Despite the BRICS bonhomie, Modi made what was seen as a major swipe at China's aggressive posture in the East and South China Seas.
जो बुद्ध के रास्ते पर चलते हैं, जो विकासवाद में विश्वास करते हैं, वो शांति और प्रगति की गारंटी लेकर के आते हैं। लेकिन आज हम चारों तरफ देख रहे हैं, 18वीं शताब्दी की जो स्थिति थी वो विस्तारवाद नजर आ रहा है। किसी देश में एंक्रोचमेंट करना, कहीं समुद्र में घुस जाना, कभी किसी देश के अंदर जाके कब्जा करना, इन चीजों की प्रवृत्ति चल रही है। ये विस्तारवाद कभी भी मानव जात का कल्याण 21वीं सदी में नहीं कर सकता है।
Joining me live from Tokyo is Editor Strategic Affairs Gaurav Sawant, and with me here in the studio, Senior Writer India Today Jyoti Malhotra. Gaurav, coming to you first for a quick word on what is being seen as the sharpest comment that Narendra Modi made today. He didn't take China's name, but he spoke about expansionist and aggressive policies. He mentioned it more than once in that speech. A lot being read into that particular statement, especially given that this visit to Japan isn't only being seen by some as a historic visit between two old friends, but also a message to China.
This visit, Shiv, has been very high on symbolism. Religion at one end, China at the other. Now, very cleverly, he did not mention China even once. He just spoke of 18th century expansionist forces that violate land borders and that violate sea borders. Now, clearly, the indication is China that violates India's land borders, whether in Arunachal Pradesh or in Ladakh, or violates the sea borders of Japan, the tension in Senkaku Islands, China's aggression in the South and East China Sea. This is something to beware of. But clearly, he didn't mention China, and he said when we look all around us, it could mean the ISIS, it could mean Ukraine, it could mean anything. Because for Prime Minister Narendra Modi, it's a tightrope walk. India is also seeking to strengthen relations with China, especially economic ties, while there is a boundary dispute, while there is a very aggressive China on our eastern and northern front. At the same time, China is also a big economic partner, and Chinese president will be coming to India shortly. So that is something, it's a tightrope walk for Prime Minister Narendra Modi, though it's an equally tightrope walk for Japan, because China and Japan are strong trading partners, economic partners. At the same time, this is something that strikes a chord in many a Japanese hearts, because Japan is also very wary of China, perhaps as wary of China as India is, if not more. At the same time, what is crucial, India and Japan, two democracies, the second and third largest economies of Asia, they need to come together to make the 21st century Asia's century. That's the message which goes loud and clear, not just to China, but to the entire world, Shiv.
Jyoti, how are you reading, the statement, the comments made by Narendra Modi in that particular speech where he's talking about expansionist policies. You've got the Chinese president who's going to be coming to India as well. In the first couple of months of Prime Minister Modi's prime ministership, there were very cordial, convivial things said about China. There was a visit by their foreign minister as well. So, in the light of all of that, and given that the government has sort of sent out a message of cordiality, of hope, of friendliness with China, where does a comment that's pretty unmistakable like this one fit in?
First of all, Shiv, I'd like to say that I think Narendra Modi is really enjoying himself. You know, his day and a half in Kyoto, he went to all the temples, and Shinzo Abe, the Japanese Prime Minister, came to receive him. And now he's in Tokyo, which is where the political and the strategic issues are discussed. And you're absolutely right. The fact that he did not name China, but he sort of very indirectly, and there's no mistaking which country he was referring to. As Gaurav said, it's not Ukraine or it's not Iraq, but it is Japan. But here, I'd like to say something here. I think the Prime Minister is backed by the Ministry of External Affairs. You saw the Indian ambassador Deepa Gopalan Vadva there, who's been there and who knows Japan well. And what I do want to say is that I don't think India is targeting China. So let's make that, in my view, I think I'm very clear about that.
That's an important point,
There is no question of India targeting China. We cannot target China. First of all, and here are two simple reasons. First of all, China is perhaps the most important, economically powerful country in the world. It's overtaken the Americans, as you know. Second of all, it's in our neighborhood, and you do not target a country, not only a big, powerful country, but a neighbor. China is a neighbor. Let's make no mistake about that. So here is Narendra Modi. He knows that India is a much economically weaker country than China, but yet here is China in your own neighborhood playing several strategic games. So what does the Prime Minister do in that sense? You reach out to friends who are also encircled by this huge, very strong, economically powerful country, namely China, and you make friends with them. So we are not talking about enemies, and I'm not saying that
But China has also made its unhappiness pretty clear through the global
By the way, let's not forget that China and Japan have a very strong and very powerful economic relationship.
That's right.
So I think here is the message. Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, is coming to Delhi within a couple of weeks. India will reach out to Xi Jinping and say that we want to have much bigger Chinese investment in India. What that means is that for the first time in several years, the Indian government, the Indian Prime Minister, is able to play several relationships at the same time. So you're reaching out to the Japanese, you're saying that we want a much stronger relationship with you, both in terms of strategic as well as economic relations. The Japanese will help build, not only revamp Banaras, which is Modi's constituency, but also build, say, several smart cities across the Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor. At the same time, the Indians will tell the Chinese, we want greater Chinese investment in India. So I think this is the most fascinating part of Modi's visit, is that he's able to play both China and Japan at the same time.
So very smartly played, and yet not really targeting China. Gaurav and Jyoti, thanks very much for joining us on this. Modi, no doubt, enjoying his Japan visit, and he took the time out to make that reference unmistakably to China today. It's going to be debated and analyzed all through prime time here in India for certain. Gaurav and Jyoti, we're going to leave it there for the moment. Thanks very much for joining us on one of our top stories this evening.